Illinois mayor is getting national attention for the way that she's spending taxpayer dollars.
WGN Investigates has learned South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard has lost another key ally. Until recently, Henyard enjoyed near unanimous support on the Thornton Township Board, but now trustee Carmen Carlisle says after trusting Henyard and remaining silent, she will be a whistleblower against Henyard.
As information that indicates the FBI has launched an investigation into controversial Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor.
A startling turn of events occurred when the FBI raided the home of Tiffany Henyard Dalton, the self-proclaimed super mayor, and found millions of dollars hidden away like something from a blockbuster. What started out as the story of a small-town leader has now become a story of extravagant living off of public funds. Henyard, who is known for flaunting her title, is now facing difficult questions as her extravagant lifestyle comes to light. We're talking about lavish vacations, designer shopping sprees, and even a staggering $500,000 driveway for her mother, all of which are allegedly funded by the very people she was elected to serve. Spending puts her in a class by herself, leading to comparisons to the Kardashians as her town of Dalton plunges deeper into financial turmoil. The FBI discovered millions of dollars, not just a little extra cash hidden away. This is all the while the town she is supposed to be in charge of is collapsing under a massive $3.5 million in debt. How did Henyard become mayor? And why is she collapsing? This is a significant story that began when she was appointed mayor after former Mayor Frank Zuccarelli's unexpected death. Her appointment initially raised doubts, but Henyard came with big plans and even bigger promises, which turned out to be untrue. When Henyard took office, things quickly took a shady turn. Her tenure was marked by outright hostile critics, and those who dared to call her out found themselves shut down faster than a glitchy TikTok video. Henyard allegedly turned Dalton into her personal empire, raking in the money and living large while the town offered. Her rise to power was quick and dramatic, and in 2021 she won the mayoral seat with much fanfare. She didn't just take on the role of mayor, though, as she was also the supervisor for Thornton Township, earning an impressive $200 million annually. Tiffany Henyard ruled Dalton like the queen of her own little thief the iron fist. Her tenure in office has been nothing short of dramatic, with growing allegations that she used her position of authority to finance an extravagant lifestyle. We're talking about lavish trips to Vegas, extravagant security measures, and let's not even get started on the shady donations to her so-called breast cancer charity, which, surprise, had her name plastered all over it. For a brief period, Dalton was enthralled by her energy and promises. She was a local celebrity, and people believed she would revitalize the town while its finances went out of control. Henyard boasted about securing funds for housing veterans and seniors and promising new developments, but all of those admirable plans were quickly overshadowed by a federal investigation into her spending habits that could land her in serious legal trouble. Additionally, her so-called breast cancer charity, the Henyard Care Foundation, initially seemed like a noble cause, but upon closer inspection, it was discovered that many of the generous donations were being funded directly by taxpayer dollars. Yes, the diligent taxpayers of Dalton provided vacations, fine dining, and enough designer bags to fill an entire boutique. Let's look at the first major red flag in her administration. In just 5 months, she spent $67,000 on travel alone, which is more than many people in her town make in a year. Dalton's budget was as dry as a desert, but Mayor Tiffany Henyard seemed to be living like a star on a glitzy reality show, indulging in extravagances that left taxpayers furious. One example of this is her famous business trip to Springfield, where she turned it into a personal extravaganza complete with lavish hotel stays and upscale amenities funded by Dalton and Thornton Township credit cards. The entire spectacle, which included lavish hotel stays, motorbike rides, an entourage that included her own DJ and a drone photographer, and thousands of dollars in expenses for lavish meals and a caravan of vehicles provided by Dalton and Thornton Township, was paid for by taxpayers. To make matters worse, she allegedly made money by selling t-shirts and hoodies that were ordered with Thornton Township funds. When asked about the transactions, she refused to provide an explanation, which only served to fuel suspicions of poor management and self-interest. However, her self-promotion campaign, in which she used taxpayer funds to plaster her face on large billboards throughout Dalton, not for election purposes but to glorify herself, caused widespread outrage. Both residents and critics pointed out that such actions not only blurred ethical lines, but were outright illegal, as public funds are meant for community improvement, not for building a politician's brand. Even seasoned political figures, used to the murky nature of campaigning, were shocked by her, calling it an egregious overreach. While her supporters tried to defend her actions as ambitious leadership, the misappropriation of public funds for personal gain painted a troubling picture of ego-driven governance. Henyard's actions revealed an alarming pattern, prioritizing her image over the well-being of her constituents, exacerbating the financial struggles of a town already struggling with a drained budget. This story marked yet another chapter in Henyard's increasingly controversial tenure. The fallout from Henyard's actions left a lasting impact, cementing her legacy as one of the most controversial figures in the town's history. State election regulations and corruption both supported Henyard's ostentation, and then there was her so-called personal army, a security detail that followed her everywhere. This 247 protection squad was more appropriate for a high-level politician or celebrity than a small-town mayor. The setup didn't make sense, and as soon as she took office, Henyard quickly put together her own. Terry Down reportedly earned nearly $113,000 for working 303 hours in a single 2E period, which is impossible unless you have time-bending abilities or are inflating your hours. The entire Henyard security team has taken over $1 million from Dalton's already tight budget. That's right, 7 figures were spent on protection for a small-town mayor while the town itself is in debt. While the people of Dalton are working hard to make ends meet, their mayor is living like a king or queen, but the outrageous overtime wasn't. She dismissed the police chief after he refused to comply with her demand, embarrassing many locals who couldn't believe the extreme measures she took to protect herself. You may think that all of this is the result of some clever financial scheming, but the receipts show that Dalton has been further sinking into a financial abyss, while Henyard has been living lavishly when the security detail even accompanied her on out-of-town excursions. This was the only thing that sparked more questions. People started to voice serious concerns, but Henyard dismissed them, claiming that it was all part of being a public figure. However, the last time I looked, being mayor doesn't come with a VIP, so he gave the money to Gutsy. The town is in debt by millions of dollars, and the people of Dalton aren't buying it either because they didn't elect her to run the town to ruin it. Let's face it, being a shopaholic wasn't part of the job description, and the last time I looked, being a shopaholic wasn't part of the job description. Adding, I quote, "She has taken lavish trips with village staff and has caused the village to be in a multi-million-dollar deficit, if you understand what I mean." If you think that's awful, wait until you hear about Tiffany Henyard's retribution tactics. Those who dared to defy her faced more than just a slap on the wrist. They also had to deal with the full brunt of her wrath, which included having their business licenses revoked, firing employees who refused to gather information, and a growing number of lawsuits from former employees who claimed they were unlawfully fired for not participating in her power games. Longtime Thoron Township employee Dwayne Thrash is involved in one particularly damning case where he claims he was fired for not participating in Henyard's alleged schemes. Apparently, she wanted him to help replace an attorney with someone her assistant preferred, but Thrash refused even after being offered a $100,000 pay increase. Guess what happened? He was dismissed unfairly. However, there's more. Carmen Carlisle, a trustee who was once a member of Team Henyard, has completely changed her ways and is now calling out Henyard's deceptive practices. I believe there are many more victims who have been retaliated against, fired, or Henyard pushed things to a whole new level of craziness. We're talking about harassment at home, including sending the police to intimidate her. Henyard's former assistant, Penia Dukes, has joined the lawsuit bandwagon, claiming she was sexually harassed during a taxpayer-funded trip, and that when she reported it to Henyard, they swiftly retaliated against another person and put them on unpaid medical leave. Carlisle has yet to speak out, and Carlisle hasn't held back if you thought that was bad. Dalton is being controlled by Henyard as her own kingdom after speaking out about sexual harassment involving a trustee. More reports of workers being forced to spy on critics and gather information about Henyard's opponents are emerging. This is more like political warfare than public service. She maintained her innocence during a heated village board meeting, claiming that her community was being attacked and that she would defend herself against what she called a smear campaign. However, the statistics refuted her claims of innocence while Henyard continued. She is being blamed by others. And now the village is in a $2 million deficit with hundreds of thousands of dollars owed for street paving and tree trimming services. Guess who didn't get the memo, Messier? Yes, Dalton has been operating without an annual audit since 2021. When a town doesn't balance its books for years, things can quickly go south. And that's exactly what happened in Dalton since 2021. It's a free-for-all with taxpayer money. But don't worry, cavalry is on the way by cavalry. I mean former Chicago. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who was called in to investigate Henyard's spending, isn't messing around. She's been doing extensive research, and what she's found is enough to make your head spin. Yes, there is a $3. Messier Henyard is going all out instead of accepting responsibility for her crimes, and she's blaming her former right-hand man for it just when you thought the Dalton drama was over. The town's general fund has a $65 million deficit. Dalton has more money in his bank account than a mall on Christmas morning, and the police department has seen a 21% increase in spending. It looks like someone has written blank checks repeatedly. It doesn't get much more intense. Freeman Keith, yes, that's right. Henyard claims that she was misinformed about all those financial decisions are like a canary singing. She is playing the victim and saying that she didn't know about the financial mess in Dalton, but no one is buying it. Now, let's talk about Keith Freeman. He has been charged with bankruptcy fraud, and there are rumors that he is telling investigators everything, which must be making her sweat. However, the village board doesn't buy what she's selling, so Jason House is leading the charge. Calling her out for those expensive trips and the town's multi-million-dollar deficit, but Henyard is not giving up. She's using the smear campaign card, saying that all of these accusations are personal attacks. She even attempted to use the boys' club card, saying that the village board is after her because she's a woman, but she's a girl who makes excuses as thin as dollar store toilet paper. Things have gotten so bad that the state of Illinois has stepped in and frozen Dalton's money, as if the adults had to take away the town's allowance because they couldn't be trusted to spend it properly. The FBI agents are tearing through Tiffany Henyard's house like it's the season finale of your favorite crime show. They flip cushions and treat the place like a scene straight out of Money. After the heist, they find heaps of cash buried away like hidden treasure, not just some spare change. The real question is how much money we're talking about and if it's enough to send Henyard straight to jail from City Hall. But wait, the money is just the appetizer. The FBI is looking into everything, including financial records, company records, and even the charity she has been displaying. What's next for Dalton? First, they need a clean house, which means getting rid of all undesirable actors and making sure that this kind of financial mismanagement never happens again. State funds have been frozen, and the gas is getting deeper every day. The FBI has receipts and is investigating everything from wire fraud to embezzlement. We're talking serious charges that could have Henyard trading in her Merle for an orange jumpsuit. However, when you're a public official, every dollar must be legitimate. Dalton needs new leadership because it's hard to trust the next person who steps up when a mayor is caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Do you think Dalton could have done more to stop Tiffany Henyard before she ruined everything? Please share your thoughts below, and don't forget to watch our next video for more juicy details on this developing story. We need someone who can balance the books without treating the town's bank account like their personal piggy bank. To clean up this disaster,